Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is out. Well, the demo is on Steam. I believe it's also available on Xbox and maybe on the PlayStation 5. A friend of mine currently has my PS5 because he just really wanted to play Death Stranding 2. I don't know why. I have no interest in it, but I do have an interest in 2D platformers, especially ones from Game Kitchen, the makers of Blasphemous, one of my favorite Metroidvanias of all time. This isn't quite a Metroidvania, but it is a 2D platformer. But the question is it any good? And that is what we're going to talk about today. I'm Fox with RealMarcFoxx, your vanguard of the gaming, grifting, and gooning brigade. Roll the intro.
You must recover all the energy immediately, Mega Man.
You'd be hard-pressed to find any gamer from the 80s, 90s, and even early 2000s who doesn't at least know the name Ninja Gaiden, if not played several of them. It originally started as a 2D platformer on both the arcade and NES in 1988, both of which I've actually played. I also played several of the sequels on the Nintendo, and one thing I took away from that series was, it's hard. Really hard. Almost as hard as my dick.
Redacted.
But you may not know that the game originally started by the name Legend of the Dragon Sword in Japan, and that's a bit of useless trivia information that you really can't do anything with. Just talk about in YouTube videos. I actually have memories of playing the original first Ninja Gaiden on the NES when I was a little kid back in 1988, and the one thing that stands out in my memory from all my time with that game, other than maybe the initial cutscene being so cool and the final boss, which yes, I actually got to, were those stupid bird enemies that kept running into me and knocking me backwards into instant death pits and having to hear that death sound effect over and over and over again. You want to know what that's like? Just watch the Angry Video Game Nerd's video on the topic. He may have been faking his outrage at it, but we were all legitimately outraged back in the day when we played that game because it was tough as nails, just like me. The series went on to have numerous sequels and ports on various different platforms, including one that I actually had that you may have never even heard of, the Atari Lynx. Yes, I had one of these Atari Lynx systems in my hand as a kid, and one of the few game cartridges I owned for it was Ninja Gaiden, and it was literally one of the best that I knew of. The series enjoyed a lot of success, with die-hard fans loving the extreme difficulty, even as it progressed into the 3D realm, releasing a series of games that were more character action-based. I never really got into those. I did play the new Ninja Gaiden, what's it called, 2 Black Remastered, whatever. It's not for me. It seems like a great game. My friend absolutely loves it. I know a lot of people absolutely love that game and they play the heck out of it, but it's just not really my style of game. And I can recognize when a game isn't for me, but is still good. I can also recognize when a game isn't for me and also is bad, like Death Stranding 2. So, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is the latest Ninja Gaiden game coming out. There's another one just around the corner, but this one comes to us from Game Kitchen, as I mentioned earlier, and they made Blasphemous. I gotta tell you guys, if you have not played Blasphemous and you like Metroidvanias in the least bit, you need to play Blasphemous. One of, if not the best Metroidvanias ever made. Yes, I like it far more than Hollow Knight. I like it more than any other Metroidvania. I like it more than Metroid. This Spain-based developer is full of incredibly talented individuals who are great at what they do, even when it comes to visuals, story, and all sorts of things. However, they are obviously bound, in this case, do you get the pun, bound to the Ninja Gaiden mythos, so they can't deviate too much without obviously offending fans of the series. So while Game Kitchen makes their own incredible games, original IPs, in this case, they're having to create one based on a pre-existing IP that they did not make. And to be honest with you, I never found the stories in these Ninja Gaiden games to be all that great. They're not bad by any means. I remember the first one on the NES had an amazing cinematic cutscene, something we rarely saw in games back in the day. That initial scene where they both run at each other and slice with their swords, that was so cool. Boys would talk about that scene at school. That's how cool it was. And school is cool. Stay in school, kids. But fortunately in this game, the story takes a backseat to the action because this is a 2D action platformer, and you wouldn't want a ton of story in that, right? Who would? You've got lots of new stuff here, stuff you would expect in a modern version of Ninja Gaiden. You can traverse the area by bouncing off either set points, enemies, or projectiles. You have a special attack you gain from killing enemies with an aura, and there's 2 variations of that, or you can charge your attack at the expense of some life to generate an aura even if there's no aura enemy to attack. You've got 2 projectile options, a ninja star and a throwing blade of sorts, both of which use up a limited resource from a resource bar that I can't remember the name of. You can collect more of the resource throughout the levels, and I found that I generally didn't run out unless I was spamming it. You can break through certain obstacles with the appropriate aura power-up, adding another element to travel in this game. There's of course the basic dodge, as well as a roll maneuver to get into tight spaces, often used to place not so hidden secret areas as long as you're paying attention. You can enter demon altars to switch characters, taking control of Kuromi, a mysterious female ninja with a projectile as her base attack. She is necessary to traverse certain areas, though you only have a limited time with her, functioning as basically a timer. If you don't get everything done in time, she kind of disappears and then you go back to where you started. Traversing involves jumping, bouncing off stuff, climbing walls, climbing ceilings, rolling. You'll often have to string together multiple bounces to traverse chasms or damaging spikes and fire pits. So far, only chasms amount to instant deaths, setting you back to the last checkpoint. Spikes, fire, etc. only seem to cause damage. And that's a good thing, because I hate it when there's all sorts of instant death pits everywhere in games. It's easy to kill the player when traversing the area with multiple jumps and bouncing off things and having to juggle these different mechanics. Eventually you're gonna fall, and it's really just not nice when every time you fall you die instantly and have to start over.
That's true.
Getting good at the controls with fast fingers is a must to stay alive while making your way through the world of Ragebound. Did I say Rageborn? Ragebound. The first and only boss I fought so far was a dragon, and while he wasn't particularly difficult, I did have to learn his moves, dodging appropriately and using proper placement. One of his attacks required climbing the wall to the ceiling to avoid it. Excellent use of traversal mechanics in the boss fight here. He calls add-on mods, which you can use to power up your aura and smack the shit out of him, rendering him staggered, at which point you wail away as fast as the game lets you. Now in this game, touching an enemy results in damage, so, you know, it's one of those games. Not necessarily a bad thing, just a thing. I'm often divided on the issue whether simply contacting another enemy should hurt you, or if the enemy should have to attack you to cause damage. Whatever fits the game, I guess. The game begins with a cutscene very reminiscent of the first game on the NES. This was definitely a cool, nostalgic flashback. However, I found the dialogue and cutscenes to be on the drier side. It's serviceable, but definitely nothing special. I started mashing the button to skip dialogue. There are definitely cutscenes and dialogue segments, but none are too wordy or long. It's easy to mash the button to get through them, as I mentioned, so if you don't care, mash away. No voice work in the game yet, but I'm fine with text only. I've been a gamer since the 80s, so I'm used to reading text in games. What's interesting in the game is that you don't actually play as the titular character, Ryu, which many of us refer to as Ryu. I don't care how you pronounce it because the do sound effect in Japanese is extremely difficult for most Westerners to pronounce. I lived there for over 3 years and I still sound foreign when I say it. You actually play as a character called Kenji and sometimes the alternate character Kuromi. I do appreciate that none of the enemies were too spongy. It's easy to give enemies a ton of health and think that's difficulty. But if the enemy's attacks are easy to avoid, it's just a time-wasting exercise of wailing away, dodging or jumping, wailing away, rinse and repeat. No such thing here. The difficulty felt just about right, although I'd say it's definitely easier than the NES games. Brutal difficulty can push away less skilled gamers, leading to fewer sales, so I get why they go that route. Perhaps the final game will have difficulty settings, which I'm fine with. Don't worry though, unless you're a pro platformer, it's not too easy. Ragebound's visuals look really good, but not on the same level as Blasphemous. You can enable CRT filter, which I imagine many of you might actually do that. I didn't because I just don't like the simulation of the shittiness of older deprecated hardware. We got rid of CRTs for a reason. Yes, they have some advantages, but modern monitors and TVs with the latest technology just blow CRTs out of the water. Though not necessarily for older pixel games that relied on smearing and dithering effects to look better on CRTs. I remember helping my dad carry a big screen CRT, and man, that thing was heavy and unwieldy. What a nightmare it was dealing with those heavy, honking, massive boxes. Good riddance, CRTs. I'm not gonna miss you. So keep in mind that it's not a matter of CRTs actually being superior, but developers using tricks to overcome the limitations of the CRT's shortcomings. Sound effects in the game are good, though not terribly special. The music is solid and fits well, while feeling just a tad generic, unfortunately. The little leitmotif callback to the original NES title was a very nice touch. I appreciated it. Controls are tight and fairly intuitive, with the tutorial stage starting off the experience. It's just straightforward and short enough not to overstay its welcome. This isn't a Nintendo game that drags out the tutorial with 12 text boxes to tell you that you can push A to jump. And no flavor text intended to be quirky and funny, but really only serves to pad out the length of the game with annoying little pipsqueaks inundating you with boring shit you could have figured out by just pushing a few buttons. Overall, I really did enjoy the demo. If it comes out on PC Game Pass, which I think it might, I haven't researched that one yet, then I may give it another shot. But if I have to pay for this one, I'll probably end up waiting for a deep sale, because it just didn't hook me as much as I thought it might, given that it's from Game Kitchen, the makers of Blasphemous and Blasphemous 2. But it's a different game in a different IP, and they were bound to those restrictions. Have you tried the demo? And if so, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you thought. I do actually care to hear your thoughts. I'm not just saying that. I'm not just saying leave a comment for the algorithm or whatever. I actually read every single comment on every single video. And I do enjoy reading those, even the negative ones, although I like the positive ones much, much more. Don't forget to subscribe, notification bell icon, like or dislike the video as appropriate. And remember, my friends, I'm Fox with RealMarcFoxx. Stay real, keep playing, and never forget, yesterday's tomorrow is today's today. See you in the next one.